here. These are gonna be random. I mean, I was just sitting down, getting ready to turn in, and I saw this report on CNN. We're gonna watch it now. It's about 18 minutes behind, the live broadcast, and I did not expect to see this. But again, I wanted to see how Bizzaro World was doing. Now, if you noticed on the cover of my first single, Like Water, Pumelela Like Water, I have the screen on the cover and I have water on the screen. The reason I did that is because when I was dreaming of Lumania, before getting in there, there's like this, I don't know how to describe it, okay? But there's this blue world, and before there's a screen, and all the evil people, the demons, are trapped behind a screen. So everyone can calm down. But let's watch what CNN has to say about this guy because they are all rich, let's see.
He's accused of killing United Health Insurance CEO Brian Thompson last week. On his way to court this morning, sporting an orange jumpsuit, he yelled to those gathered in part, "This is completely out of touch and an insult to the intelligence of the American people." The six-day manhunt for Mangione ended when a customer spotted him at a McDonald's yesterday morning in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Police have since charged him with second-degree murder in New York.
And what's with the McDonald's thing?
Offenses in Pennsylvania. Joining us now, CNN's chief law enforcement and intelligence analyst, as well as NYPD veteran John Miller, and Steve Moore, CNN law enforcement contributor and retired supervisory special agent for the FBI. Good to have you both here. John, I wonder if I could begin with you. Do investigators have a better picture now of just how Mangione descended into this abyss, right? A smart, accomplished high school valedictorian, UPenn grad, privileged kid, how he turned into quite a public alleged assassin?
Well, they don't have a richer picture in that they've had him for 24 hours and their focus has been, let's connect the gun in Pennsylvania to the shell casings in New York. Let's connect the individual in the jail to the DNA we recovered at the scene. Let's connect the fingerprints on his hands to the fingerprint we lifted from the telephone that we found near the murder. So they've been focused on.
We are here. We're just watching.
Their probable cause in anticipation.
We're just trying to figure out how the media is going to react to the fact that one of their own. This is like the Joker, okay, in real life. So are they going to take the side of the public, like that Dinesh guy who supports this guy, or are they going to take the side of the alleged CEO who denied people?
Really know yet. Something we're still working on, and posting some very provocative things about violence being the better answer than useless protest when it came to corporate greed.
No. Violence is bad, guys. No violence.
The chat places that he was. So that's the picture we're getting now.
Yeah. It's interesting, as you described that there, and as I've been reading about his case, it strikes me as evocative of the stories of domestic terrorists, right? Folks who got drawn into international terrorism, often via radicalization on the internet, disconnect from their families and otherwise.
Sorry, that's a lie, because you are the one who radicalized the people. You are the one who split the nation since 2016. So now all of a sudden it's the internet's fault. No. We are not the problem. We are the ones who have been warning you since 2019. And if you don't believe it, go to the description box and click on the link. That paper that's in the link, I wrote it. Me. Look at me. I wrote it. And I gave it to these news media people. And in that paper, I said, there's even pictures of people who look like him burning the town down. And I said, if you people don't do anything, the young people, my generation, are gonna burn down the earth and start shooting you. And guess what happened? It happened. And now they sit on TV like, we have no idea. We didn't do anything. It's ISIS. It's radicalizing. No, it's you. You did it. Let's continue this BS.
The stories we've covered before. Terrorists who were drawn to ISIS, say, who were otherwise privileged,
Lies.
and get drawn in, find a sense of purpose. Stephen,
No.
do you see a parallel with that path to violence as well?
Absolutely do. I've worked several
Liar.
cases
Who's
of
he?
white supremacists and
He's
groups
full
like
of
that.
shit.
I had a guy who was an aerospace engineer whose
Was it Billy
life
Carson?
failing him, and he got on with communicating with white supremacist groups. And what he actually was looking for was some kind of validation and some kind of friendship, really. And they provided him with a sense of value, but the value that it was inherent only in their views. And so it seems like, in a way, he took beliefs.
This is how the media lies. Oh, look how wholesome. See how they turned him into a killer because of Satanism. So this man is a liar because he is saying that he knew an aerospace engineer who needed friends. And so he joined a group. This boy didn't need friends. This boy needed justice. And that's, you can see it in his posts, that he was against greed, corruption. This guy is now using a whole other thing. This man is exactly like Billy Carson. Look at him. They are one and the same because both of them do not know how to use facts to build a coherent argument. And now this one is being used as a scapegoat for people who have emotional issues. And now they are going to blame incel culture into it. And every young American man with a computer is probably going to be profiled as this guy. And then you are going to be having your rights taken away from you. But hopefully you read the research I've given you so that you learn how to save yourselves, because I will be on an island somewhere sipping martinis. You need to protect yourselves. Let's hear what more BS this guy has.
Were somewhat rational and somewhat irrational and was radicalized.
Yeah. I
Answer your
to
phones.
start with you, John, about another piece of this that is just alarming and concerning. The broad public support for him that you're seeing expressed online and elsewhere, with folks saying that he's a martyr, that the CEO somehow deserved this because of the failings of the private healthcare industry.
Ooh, someone's getting
here.
scared.
I wonder how concerned law enforcement is about this kind of violence becoming epidemic. Because, I mean, there's some parallels to January 6th, even the Trump assassination here. Folks feeling that violence is an okay way to exact political change.
Well, let's attack that with 2 quick points. Number one, the NYPD issued an intelligence report today to hundreds of its local law enforcement partners across the country with whom they share intelligence on the threat stream.
What the heck?
And it said, and I quote, the NYPD also cites the positive online reaction to the killing of Thompson, noting that, I'm quoting now, this rhetoric may signal an elevated threat facing executives in the near term.
You see?
With the shooting itself having the capability to inspire a variety of extremists and grievance-driven malicious actors to violence. Now, Point 2 is this.
Malicious actors. No, I'm just a Hollywood actor. No, I'm a YouTube actor. I'm an internet actor. But seriously, guys, do not do violence. Violence is old. You need to calm down and meditate and use the resources I've given you so you can calm down. But now what this man is saying, the old man, is that the new NYPD is now looking at the CEOs as victims of a heightened threat level. Now, let me ask a question. When all those people's medical things were being denied, their claims, who put them on? Who did the NYPD put those people who were paying their money to the insurance company and then they couldn't claim That's kind of like low-key theft and fraud. So did the NYPD put them, the company, on surveillance, or did they put us, the public, or you guys, I guess, in America, on some kind of threat level to protect you? Did they do that for you? Oh, remember, you mustn't do anything. You must sit in your bed and meditate. Don't hurt anyone. Let's listen to more BS from Bizzaro.
Morning in Lower Manhattan at a hotel, there was a major conference of CEOs of big Wall Street firms, hedge funds, major corporations. And when police got there at 8:30 in the morning, the light posts around the hotel, the windows had all taped upon them wanted posters, wanted flyers, for the different CEOs of the big companies with their names and pictures. And by the time I got down there, they'd been taken down, but security had also been drastically increased.
He's not the only one. It's a network.
Hotel, and for that conference. So you can see this is rolling.
Yeah. And so that's a police problem, and Steve Moore, it's an FBI problem. I mean,
it's a terrible
thing. They got to address
terrible.
This, I imagine, as they would other violent extremism.
Exactly, and you're going to have to classify it. You're going to have to learn about it, and you're going to have to get into the mind of the people who would do this. The problem is the world kind of loves.
What is the mind?
And these people are not seen as terrorists and murderers by some people, but those who are.
Okay, but what is the mind? It's interesting to get into the mind of someone who would do this. Yes, as an actor, I can't judge anyone because I have to play him probably one day in a blockbuster. So I'm not judging this guy. But you, sir, policeman, I might have to play you as well in a movie. So I'm not judging you. But what I will ask is, why do we have to get into the mind of him, the killer? Why don't we get into the mind of a system that thinks it's okay for people to just pay every month for nothing when they need it? Isn't that bizarre? Why is that okay? And why do they think the people watching are too dumb to ask that question? And then when we do ask that question, and then when other people do end up getting, whatever happens to them, why do they think it's weird when other people celebrate? Because I said it in my research, in my link, that this was going to happen. So why is it weird? Who's lying and who's telling the truth? It's almost as if you can get more information at Scribble Bites than you can on mainstream media. Yes, Jared, exactly. So why are you then going to get punished because they effed up? And why do people do nothing about that? Just think about that as we go.
Doing justice to the unfairly rich, to the greedy parts of society. And that's where you have to start. How do you combat that when there is something in some people that is drawn to that? It's a revenge thing.
Yeah.
Revenge.
So, John, how does law enforcement...
Maybe justice.
There's a long road here, right? You got to continue the investigation. You already have the charges, but of course, you're going to get to trial. Going to be very public. You might have some of these folks, I don't know, coming out in support of him, right? I mean, how do the authorities manage a legal proceeding like that? I have to say, it sort of reminds me to some degree of, some of the armed groups in the 1960s, right, who had a public following, even as they carried out or attempted to carry out violence.
What Steve said was really interesting about.
Yes, those terrible groups, those hippies and they bell-bottoms in the 60s. Ugh. Meanwhile, you say #MeToo and then you drop bombs on women and children in Ukraine or in Russia or wherever in the world, in Somalia. But it's weird, right? It's the hippies' fault. It's the hippies. Okay.
The parallels and what you suggested in your question between radicalization that we saw by groups like Al-Qaeda and most particularly ISIS and this phenomenon. But it has an interesting key difference, which is, in the ISIS case, ISIS would be out there online posting propaganda and drawing people in, and they promise valor, you'll be a hero.
Yeah,
Belonging,
Jared,
you'll
that
be
was
hard-charging
like in the
business.
biblical
Empowerment, what
times.
you do will matter. And yet we look at this individual through his writings, and they'll exploit his computer and his phone and get more into who, if anyone, he was talking to. But like the Unabomber, of whom he has
Ted
at
Kaczynski.
least posted that he's a fan, he seems to be self-created, self-radicalized, self-inspired, by being, as Steve described him, a loner, who had been detached from his social network and found his way into this image he had created for himself as this lone ranger.
Okay, so now the reason I wanted us to watch this, and I don't know what's coming, we're about 25 minutes behind the live schedule. Every time I keep pausing, it keeps playing and it's like recording, whatever. But it's live, right? So the part that I want you guys to realize, because this whole channel is about, we're making a movie, right? And this is about visual literacy. Exactly, Jared. And so as part of the visual literacy, these people are talking BS. They are exactly like Billy Carson. They are saying, they're using doublespeak. So first they said he was radicalized by the internet. And now this intelligence officer just said he was a loner and he didn't have a social network and he didn't talk to anyone. He covered his walls with pictures and sat in the dark. So which is it? Was he radicalized by 4chan and all those people there? Or was he like Ted Kaczynski? And Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, I did a photo shoot where I dressed up like him 10 years ago because I could see all the stuff coming. And I was like, well, I better document it. So it's on Facebook somewhere. I love Ted Kaczynski's look with the glasses, the aviators. Fashion-wise, in real life, he's nuts. All of the violent people are nuts. But can you see how they are covering their bases? So that if you're just a casual listener not paying attention, they end up convincing you of anything. Because half the audience heard him say, oh, yeah, he was on 4chan. And then the other half heard him say, oh, no, he was a loner. Now they've covered the whole gamut of men in the world. And so now people are going to go out and look at you, young man, as if you're a killer and that you are wrong. Let's listen to more psyops.
Who would go against the big corporate monster.
Wow. And from so much privilege as well. Well, John.
Oh, he's privileged.
I'm sure we'll be talking.
He's privileged, so he mustn't do anything, just like Patty Hearst. Patty Hearst was privileged, so she wasn't allowed to join the Symbionese Liberation Army and call her family ages 6 pigs.
About it again. Thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for nothing.
Thank you.
Well, law enforcement veterans examining video footage of Thompson's shooting.
They can't put that on TV.
Noticed an unusual-looking firearm. One expert telling CNN he did not even recognize the kind of weapon. Fast forward to Luigi Mangione's arrest, the officers discovered in his backpack what appeared to be a 3D printed pistol, a so-called ghost gun, along with a silencer, also apparently 3D printed. A ballistics test should determine if it is the gun used to kill the CEO. Ghost guns, so you know, are untraceable, self-assembled guns, which are, of course, difficult to track and regulate. Joining me now is an expert on this type of weapon, Nick Soplina. He's a senior vice president for law and policy at Everytown, a gun safety advocacy group. Nick, thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
So first, let's start, and gosh, it just shocks me
Yes,
that
I
there are
zoom
enough
out.
guns in this country as it is. Far too many, one might say, and now you have the ability to just print one out yourself. You don't have to go buy one. So what do we know about how that's done, how they're purchased, how they're assembled?
Well, that there is an emerging threat. I would say not long ago we would have considered it a future threat of 3D printed firearms, and that threat is here now, and it is deadly serious.
Sorry, I have to stop the threat. You see, so now this is what they're really selling. Because in order to get onto TV, you have to be selling something. And we're going to go into why and how later. But the point is, Every story, there's a great movie you should all watch. It's called Miss Sloane, and Jessica Chastain is in that movie. Awesome movie, brilliant. And they show you how all this stuff works in a nice, easy way. So the whole point of this is about guns. So they need a way to make everyone freak out and have some emotional reaction. But not everyone is emotional. Some people are logical. So they have to come up with two stories that will hook the emotional people and the logical people. So now they've hooked the emotional people. A privileged, young, attractive man goes on a shooting spree and throws it all away. That's the emotion to get all the moms. Now for the logical people, it's because of the 3D guns. If we get rid of 3D guns, everything will be fine. See how stupid people are.
Well,
Annoys me.
online are the sort of files you need to download to your 3D printer, exactly what you need to print.
I don't have a
component
3D
parts. And
printer.
here it looks like the frame of the pistol as well as potentially the silencer as well. And the ease with which you can do this now with kind of printers that are available to average consumers, not in
This is called techno paranoia or technophobia. There is nothing wrong with technology, but these I find I swear a lot when I talk about Bizzaro World. So this is a late night show, by the way. So this asshat, he is like, oh no, it's the technology's fault. It's not the fault of the people who drove this man to this thing. It's not the fault of the corruption. It's the 3D printer's fault because everyone can get it. Do you see how like stupid these people think you are? And then they wonder why their ratings are going down. And I'm supposed to be retired somewhere, but I have to sit here and fix this because they're full of shit. And I can't stand for it. This is a movie, by the way. This is a scene. I'm not actually angry.
industrial
YouTube.
level equipment is really alarming. And I should say, the sites that are promoting these designs and websites, their goal is to undercut federal and state.
Oh, so let's shut
laws.
down
They're
the
not really
internet
shy
now.
About it. They are saying it. And so as I was listening to your last guest talk about, trying to understand this shooter's motivation, the radicalization that other, extremists go through, all I think to myself is these online 3D printed websites are designed precisely for those that are seeking to do war with the government, who want to.
Okay, first of all, this guy needs to go boil his head because it looks like the cover of my book because it's an egg. He's an egghead. And I hate that I have to, well, I'm a character, so I'm allowed. I have creative license. Normally, I would never say that in real life, but I'm an actor. Second of all, look at that. Oh, I'm looking at those awards over there. In psychology, we have this thing called called managing impressions. I highly recommend you Google 8 impression management techniques. This is how you can find out what someone is thinking when you first meet them, because everyone uses one of these 8 techniques in order to manage their persona. So if you see people like him, people with awards on display, people normally who try and act all smart, that's called an appeal to authority. So in other words, they are trying to come across as an expert. But the fun part that we learned at school is, and that you'll see in life, is that whichever impression management technique you choose, you believe the opposite about yourself. And that's how we encode movies. So if he is showing us all these awards and trying to act professional, it means he thinks he's incompetent. So if I wanted to like unnerve him and like get under his skin, which is what we are trained to do, because it's a movie, you have to like feel horror or feel joy, right? That's our job, control emotions. So if I wanted to get under his skin in a debate, I would make him feel incompetent, which is why I'm calling him an egghead, because he was probably, that's dark psychology. We're not going to go into dark psychology now. But basically, you could put me in a debate with anyone and I would win given enough time to research the topic. And I used to win in my area, even when our team would lose I would still win. And you can go check the records. Durban District.
Take violence into their own hands. And we've seen this countless times.
Goodness, I mean, is there any sense of how many are out there now?
How many?
you're
Read
saying
my
it's a
book.
particular kind of person who uses it, not so much day-to-day crime, but more politically motivated crime?
Well, listen, the problem of ghost guns is now a problem of everyday crime. What you have seen more frequently, what we've seen tens of thousands of recoveries over the last 5 or so years, has been these online kits where you
Online,
buy the
online,
unfinished
online.
or receiver or frame, and you use some tools, some milling and drilling devices, and then you've got what you need to make the rest of your firearm. Those were very popular. Thankfully, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms has a regulation now that has dramatically curbed the presence of those kits online. But this is the next chapter. This is 3D printed firearms, and we're not seeing them by the tens of thousands. But if you go onto some of the sites that host these prints, these blueprints, you're seeing tens of thousands of downloads. And again, you don't need to be an expert to understand who is this most appealing to. The folks
Who?
that do not want a background check, do not want a paper trail, do not want law enforcement tying the firearm back to them. And unfortunately, we're seeing this horrifically play out in this assassination in Midtown Manhattan. But there are other groups out there right now who are touting their 3D print.
How come when a normal person gets gunned down, just minding their business, coming home from buying groceries, it's not called an assassination. It's called a statistic or a murder or whatever. But when it's someone who has money, like it, when I first watched The Joker, I was like, because I don't like violent movies and stuff. I normally like Hallmark. But someone made me watch The Joker a year ago. And I was like, okay, this is good. I get it. But I was like, this is too violent, or it's glorifying violence. But even with that, let's say they made it with the best of intentions. So the Joker serves as kind of a warning that people are fed up. So then why are people here acting all shocked? They're gaslighting the viewers. And then one thing I never understood about these kind of news sources, he just gave a whole list of how to make the gun. He's like, you go to the website, there's 10,000 downloads, it's very easy, you just get a kit and you drill. So he's telling the people to go get the guns and then to make them. And then it's almost as if he's creating a problem so that he can swoop in and manage it. And then 60% of the population actually falls into that trap. And in the show and the movie we're working on, that's what we call the humans, right? The NPCs. And that's why I always say I don't want to separate between them because I don't want to create divisions in the movie. I want the entire audience to like it. But it's frustrating when you are fighting the good fight and then you have 60% of people who watch this trash and they believe it. And then it's like you're fighting the demon plus the people who have a parasite in their brains. You know what I mean? And it's something that's as easy as reading that can kill the parasite, but people want the parasite.
Firearms that are part of militia
Yeah.
or extremist groups or hate groups, precisely because they're untraceable.
Good Lord. The Biden administration, as you know, tried to regulate ghost guns to some degree in 2022. What specifically did the administration try, and has it worked at all?
Yes. So the administration.
You see how we went, because he's about to lie.
On the kits that I was discussing, these online kits for creating firearms, and early results have shown maybe dips in the number of these crime guns that are being recovered, or rather these ghost guns that are being recovered in crime. That rule, however, was challenged also by gun extremists. It's actually in front of the Supreme Court right now. We're hopeful that the Supreme Court will uphold the rule. We think that It should, based on the law. But
He's
yes,
taking in too much air. He's gonna burp
3D
soon.
printed firearms, like I said, is the next chapter, and there's a lot the federal government has to do if we want to curb this problem before it becomes as ubiquitous as these ghost gun kits.
Yeah, I mean, I've used a 3D printer with my kids, and you can download
Oh,
these files.
Mr.
For,
Rich
I don't
Guy.
know, Snoopy, right? Easy to do, and the imagining that it's as easy to get the model for, or the specs rather, for a gun as it is for toys is, well, it's alarming. Nick Soplino, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Coming up next, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's day in court.
Okay, so the best part, that wasn't too long. The best part is how he did, it's a typical common technique. I'm not gonna front. I use it a little bit as well. He added the whole Snoopy thing, like, oh, me and my kid, we do it. It's to appeal to your nostalgia, to appeal to your sense of innocence, to make you imagine, oh, if it's as easy as me and my kid downloading Snoopy 3D stuff, and now people are downloading guns, my kid could get shot by these guns. And you see how they hypnotize you. And when you watch TV, your brain goes into alpha state, which is a highly hypnotic state. And so when you are in all of these susceptible states, whatever goes into your mind, even if you on the surface don't really accept it, it'll play on you, and you'll go to sleep and you'll dream about it and think about it. And that's why I invented Night Game, because I was like, okay, well, let me use this technology, but for good. Let me make it so that you can watch something. It'll hypnotize you. Yes, I tell you up front, I am basically hypnotizing you. I am using dark psychology on you. And yes, when you watch and play Night Game, something's going to happen to you that is beyond reality. Okay, let's put it out there. I said it. And it's going to make your life change, but for the best, because you're going to start questioning your reality, and you're going to start believing and seeing that there's more than what you've been told. That's the goal of the game. If you don't freak out. If you do freak out, then you're going to be like these people that they want you to be on TV, and you're going to think that there are demons watching you, or there was something watching you, or whatever. I don't know what. Because it's hard to explain Night Game. It's different for everyone. As an actor playing this part, it feels like there's this, I don't want to use the word cabal, but there's this concerted and directed effort against men in particular. Now, I'm saying this in the movie, okay? I'm not saying this, it's the character. It's like there's a concerted effort against men in particular to only direct their aggression in ways that have been sanctioned or approved by whoever's in control at that time. And so to the men living on the ground in real time, it becomes confusing on how do you express your masculinity without offending polite society. And it seems like every couple of months it changes on what it means to be a man and what you're supposed to do. But the common theme I've seen running through the whole time is this whole gun anti-violence thing. And in movies, I used to watch a lot of horror movies and for studying purposes, but in horror movies, they say that a gun symbolizes the male phallus, right? Your seed power machine thing. And so if the people are trying to take away your guns, it's almost as if they're trying to take away your power thing. And if they try to take away your power thing, it's almost like they're trying to chop it off, right? And then you just look around and you're like, okay, so there's this theme of killing masculinity. Why? How does that benefit the bigger picture for demons if everyone is a vessel and not a divine light? And I know it's going to sound, this is a movie, we're developing it together, right? Feel free to chime in, because I'm acting with you. I'm not acting with those Hollywood freaks, that's for sure. I'll rather act with you. So how do we show that, right? So in the movie, male masculinity, if masculinity is gone, does that mean that every man is then going to basically be a hole for rich people or anyone who can afford it? Is that the point of all this? To just make everyone a whole? So that if I'm sitting at home and I'm rich or whatever, and I say, I'm scrolling on YouTube and I'm like, this YouTube is hot. Bring him to my house. And they don't have a choice. Not because it's sanctioned by the government, no, but because we've normalized it through hypnosis in our movies and media that, oh no, it's fine. It doesn't matter. Your body's just a whole and be free. But now, how does that affect your purpose? Because everyone has a purpose and a gift and a talent that they have to express, right? We all have this specific thing we're supposed to do. So if we derail that, are we setting the world back in terms of progress? And then this is a sci-fi that we're doing. So how does that affect like our space in the galaxy? That's what I'm really exploring in this. How does Earth's space in the galaxy get affected by these minuscule, really pathetic attempts to stop evolution? And in the movie as well, the world is not round. It's actually kind of like a firmament. There's a it's because I have to explain the 5D, right? So we're going to put a firmament on the sky where in the movie, no one actually left the planet. It's impossible to leave because we're not going to get into it. But as an actor, I can believe this because in real life, I used to develop black and white film in a dark room. And black and white film is so sensitive, I really don't know how it would work in space because there's no oxygen. And film is a chemical process. You have to do it in the dark. You have to actually develop the film negatives in the dark, in chemicals. So I don't know how you can take pictures of the Earth's atmosphere because film is very sensitive to light. So every single picture taken in space is supposed to be blacked out or overexposed, according to science. But no one ever talks about that, which is weird. So as a person, I believe we did go to space and people went to the moon and all of that stuff. I do, yes. Love it, NASA. But as an actor in this role, I can see how to get into character, I can believe that no one left this planet because I have an inner object. In acting, we call it an inner object. You need to find something to help you believe in your role. So for me, it's that. I never found a suitable explanation on how you can take film. Maybe digital, absolutely, but film? Do you know how finicky actual 35 millimeter film stock is? One wrong move. But yet they could get these crystal clear pictures. Wow. Wow. And why do aliens always go to America? Why don't they come here, according to the media? But in real life, we see them all the time. If you go to my playlist for Starseed University, I've updated it with a whole bunch of stuff where it's like there's a lady, an American there, and she's like, it's in Africa, this stuff is normal. This is not but in other countries, it's like, whoa, aliens? Oh my God, in the sea? I've been telling you aliens are in the ocean for years. But now it's like, everyone's like, and then I think, are you people under a spell? Or is there just something or am I dead and I'm dreaming all of this? Am I a ghost in the machine? I told you everything. I proved it. It's uploaded. But people are like, go, the aliens in the ocean. Dude, the fucking show I invented is called Star Marine. A marine is in the ocean. I tell you 5 years ago that I'm in the ocean with the aliens. But now when NASA tells you or when the Congress tells you, oh my gosh, aliens are real. What's wrong with people? That fascinates me to no end. Because it's like, I could be evil if I wanted to because I could get away with it. But for the fact that I know Jesus Christ is real, I wouldn't do it. And because there's cameras watching me on 24/7. But I mean, it's so easy. And then it also allows me to play both kinds, because earlier on, like the reason I stopped going to normal castings and opened my own shop by getting funding from the government to open Scribble Bites is because every time I would go for auditions, they would cast me as a double agent or a lawyer, or in the beginning at school, I would get cast as like a gangster, pimp, or whatever. But then in real life, I would get cast as like agents and like people. And I asked them, like, why? And they said, because I look like you can't trust me. I look like I'm hiding something. That's my type, right? My casting typecast. So I would do well in anything where there's a twist. Like Michael Douglas. Anything Michael Douglas acted in, I could do that, I was told. Which is funny because I used to love Michael Douglas growing up, but he doesn't act in stuff anymore. I like him in the Kaminsky Method, by the way. That's a good show. And he married the woman that I had a crush on when I was 9, and I watched Zorro. So Michael Douglas just takes everything. No, but seriously, I wanted to not play those kinds of characters because in real life, I don't do that. I don't relate to that. So I wanted to play other things that I didn't know. And so doing the sci-fi, which I love X-Files and all of that, I was like, okay, this is going to be cool. But then how do I depict what I really want to say? And what I really want to say is we are in a sci-fi, because everything that you watch and think is real is not real. There is more knowledge outside of what you have been told. And I think the movie that we're in is representative of just how magical real life is. And that if we let go of the limitations that are brought, I mean, look at John Mayer. I'm watching this CNN stuff, New Year's Eve. And remember, like, it looks great. It looks seductive. There's Kevin Hart, there's Anderson, there's the other guy, Andy Cohen. It looks beautiful. But now that we know what they're doing behind the scenes, I'm sorry, but I couldn't have someone spread poo-poo on me for a contract. Because imagine if my mother saw that. That's... And then what makes me sad is I grew up watching these people who put poo-poo on their mouth. And now I'm like, ew, I don't want that vibe. And now I can't even watch TV because every time I turn it on, I'm autistic. So every time I turn it on, I think, are you a hostage? Are you smiling because you are happy in that interview? Or are you smiling because if you don't, Diddy's going to beat you up, or whoever your handler is? And it's not fun anymore. It used to be fun because it felt like it was happening off the cuff, those talk shows, Jimmy Fallon or whatever. But now it's like, oh, or Ellen even. I used to think Ellen, oh, poor Ellen. When she came out, everyone was mean to her. Now leave her alone. So what if she doesn't want to look you in the eye? Now I'm like, sick. And you can see it in how they act in the interviews. So, and I've never seen Ellen in Lumania. I'm sorry, I've never seen her. I've never seen Diddy. We don't know. I don't know her. What happened now? A mountain what erupted? Look at that. Mount Canelon. What is that? In the Philippines. Oh, Asia. Oh, I guess God is after what they try to do to me. I guess okay, that sounded very vindictive. But if you know the story, you know the story. Yeah. No offense. But don't fuck with Jesus. So you have to watch the movie to get it. We have a big budget, by the way. That's why the TV's coordinated. It's like Mission Impossible. You know how Tom Cruise always has Wolf Blitzer and you think you're watching CNN, but it's actually part of the movie? That's what I'm doing. So that all was part of the movie, okay? Now, who's this lady drinking beer? Wait for her. She's quite cute. See, now I look at her and I think, normally I would think, oh, there's another CIA. Normally I would look at her and think, okay, she's cute, she's fine. But now I'm looking and I'm thinking, did she have poo-poo on her to get that job? How did she get that job? Who is she? Where does she come from? And some people would be like, it doesn't matter. But to me, it does matter because everything is energy. And I don't want poo-poo energy in my mind or in my eyes space. So it's like the only way I can watch good content is to make it or to follow the people that I trust. Oh, and after this, or should I do it now? There was this one, I'll set it up and come back on. There's this one guy I followed, Jack, and he was explaining the whole empathy thing that I was saying, that forget about empathy, empathy's finished. Only have empathy for people who are like you, because if you have people empathy, that sounds terrible in the movie. But I explained it in the show and in the earlier show, in the after show. But I want Jack to explain it because he explains it better and it'll make more sense when he says it. That's why actors are not supposed to talk to the public. But this is a movie, so it's fine. It's cinema verite. Look up cinema verite. Oh, there's Putin. Who's that? Oh, there's Christian Amanpour. Remember when she used to do movies? Oh, Emmy. See, now I used to love her. Now I'm like, how did she get there? Do I trust Amanpour? I don't know. The only person, honestly, I will ever talk to in an interview, besides the people I already follow, is Joe Rogan. I don't trust any media, anyone, anywhere. Leave me alone. Oh, cricket. Rickleton makes grab. We're going to come back. We're going to bring Jack. Jack has the receipts. So stay tuned. 5 minutes.